devotee, let's continue. Okay,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got dropped off somehow. What I would do is, so recited the prayers, but let's do Narsinga prayers together. So I'll put them on the screen and we can say those. I think some of you know. We'll say these 3 times and then we'll get started. Shri Narsimha, Jai Jai Narsimha, Praladesha Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma Bringa, Ugram Veeram Mahavishnum, Jwalantam Sarvatomukham, Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram, Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Please, if you want to recite together. Shri Narsimha, Jai Jai Narsimha, Praladesha Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma Bringa, Ugram Veeram Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityur Namamyaham. Once more. Sri Narsimha, Jai Narsimha, Praladesha Jaya Padma Mahapadma Brinda, Ugram Veeram Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityur Namam. Very bold. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll get started. This is what we did last time. So I'll come to the slide where I had stopped. I don't have too much slides today. I just have more of reading from 7th canto. So we were reading about how Hiranyakashipu, well, let's backtrack a little. We were reading about the prayers that Prahlad Maharaj offered. And one of the prayers he offered was that, one of the prayers he said was that I am not qualified. I am not of Brahman caste. I belong to a demonic family. And yet somehow you have given me this qualification to pray to you. So that one point we learned that we get qualification to even pray to the Lord from the Lord himself. So we should always stay in a very humble mood when we get to do any services, when we get to do offer any artis, or when we get to recite any verses, or when we get to read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, chant Lord's name. We shouldn't say, I have to chant, I have to do this, I have to, this is not something you have to. This is something you get to do. This is something you are getting to do in one of the millions of lifetimes. So you don't have to attend a class. You don't have to attend a festival. You get to attend a program, a festival, a class, a katha, a kirtan, a arti, and abhishek, or get to do those services. You get to make the prasad. You get to offer the bhoga. That is the mood we have to understand. One of the other things Prahlad Maharaj taught us was that he said, how can I leave the service of your servant Narad Muni, who saved me when I was falling in the well of material desires, a blind well full of snakes? Now, Prahlad Maharaj is not saying this for himself. Remember that Prahlad was just a kid in his mother's womb. He has no material desires at that time. He's saying this for us, right? He's saying this Navya, can you not sign into that? I keep getting logged out every time you sign in. So I think that's why I keep. Please let me know if you can't hear me, because I keep getting signed out. Okay, so he's saying that how can I leave the service of your servant? So he's basically teaching us that your servants are the ones, are like our gurus, our acharyas are the ones that are saving us from this material world. So their service is superior to actually the direct service of the Lord. So many times you will see that when people come to the temple, there will be a class or kirtan or something going on. They will bypass all these people and go directly to the deities. Actually, Prabhupada taught us the etiquettes that when there is a class or kirtan going on, you first pay obeisances to those devotees there. You don't just run to the deities. You don't have any business. You cannot get any darshan of the deities before you hear or relish the darshan from a katha or kirtan. So you should always pay obeisances to first the deities and the acharyas or the guru or whoever the seniors are sitting there before you pay obeisances and go to the deities. So log kya karte hain, neophytes, very new people, they'll just bypass everyone, ignore everybody and just go to the deities directly. But actually we should be standing next, because what do you think deities are doing? They are also hearing the katha, they're also hearing the kirtan. So actually, if you go stand next to somebody that is dear to Krishna, Krishna is more likely to notice you than if you were standing in front of Krishna alone. So इसीलिए if you have to stand in a temple, it is said, one of the very senior devotees said this in a class, that if you have to stand in a temple, stand next to a very pure devotee who you know is following the process and doing their sadhana bhakti very nicely, because Krishna will probably not notice you, because you are, in a sea of people, you are probably, very, very impure and contaminated and have so many desires and anarthas. But there is a pure person who's completely, surrendered to Krishna. Go stand next to that person and hope that maybe if Krishna sees me standing next to this devotee, his eyes, his glance, his kataksh will fall on me also. So this is our mood. We don't, just directly approach Krishna. We go through a ladder. We go step by step. We stand on the shoulder of the giants to approach Krishna. That is how you can see. अगर एक छोटा बच्चा है वो अपने फादर के कंधे पे चढ़ के देखेगा तो वो बहुत दूर तक देख सकता है, right? If it's a sea of people, like there is a concert going on or there is a magic show going on, he wants to see the show going on the stage, but there is a sea of people in front of him. How can he see the show? He has to stand on the shoulder of his father. So that's what we should do. We should serve our gurus, our seniors and people that are uh, more surrendered, more humble, following the process more diligently, and then we can get darshan of the Lord. The other thing Prahlad Maharaj taught us, compassion. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, I'm sorry. So one of the other things Prahlad Maharaj said was compassion. He said in this world, everybody is trapped in the web of material desires. But I want all the people in the world to get attached to you. So he says that, I'm not pulling the right verse here, but he says this in one of the verses that we did last time, showing compassion towards all people, that I want all the people to be benefited, not just me. And then for himself, he asks that please just purify me of my material desires. See, I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. This is what he's praying. He's not asking for any kingdom. He's not asking for any money or anything. And then for his father, he asked, I wish that he be excused of the sinful activities. He did so many sins. He did so many crimes against you, so many crimes against your devotees, against so many people, so many demigods that he tormented. But I wish that he be excused of these sinful activities. So he's asking liberation for his father. So three things Prahlad Maharaj asked. He asked for well-being, spiritual well-being of all people that are trapped in this material world. He asked that he himself be freed of material desires, and he asked that my father be liberated of his sinful activities. And Narsingh, they promised him that not only your father, but your 21 generations have been purified just because you took birth. And this is not just with Prahlad Maharaj. If you become a pure devotee, your 21 generations will also be purified. So this is another impetus for us to take to this process and become pure as soon as possible, because you will be doing a lot of favor to your ancestors and forefathers. लोग कितना पितृदान और कितना कुछ करते हैं, but just by becoming a pure devotee, following this very, very pleasing process, and it's not a very austere process, just following this very pleasing process, you can become a pure devotee. And you can purify 21, you can liberate, you can deliver 21 of your generations in your family. Then then Narsimha said he was very pleased with Prahlad. He said, those who follow your example, who follow in your footsteps, will become my pure devotee. So he's giving us an assurance here. You are the best example of my devotee. That is why we say Bhakta Shiromani. He's the topmost devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, and others should follow in your footsteps. Imagine he's such a pure devotee that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit, both are sannyasis, when they were sitting in Jagannath Puri and used to read Srimad Bhagavatam, they used to read Prahlad Charitra, the character of Prahlad. They used to read seventh canto over and over again. It is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit ne kam se kam 100 या 108 बार seventh canto पढ़ा था. And they used to read this pastime and they used to cry over the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in those days, you know, Bhagavatam was not easily available like to us it is available online. या फिर हम जब आप बोलते हो कि मुझे भागवतम चाहिए और आपके घर भागवतम पहुंच जाती है, it's not like this. There used to be just one copy which was written in ink, and if you cried over it, that ink will get wiped away, and then you couldn't get another copy for many years, because that had to be written on leaves and with a sharp twig or something like that. So it was not easy to get hold of a copy of Bhagavatam, but they used to pour over it over and over again over Prahlad Charitra. That is the Charitra of Prahlad. And imagine the Charitra of Prahlad, that Narsimha-Dev is glorifying him, and Narad Muni is saying the story, right? Narad Muni is narrating the story to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Narad Muni is the guru of Prahlad, and he's also glorifying his own disciple. So कितना महान चरित्र होगा ऐसे भक्त का कि जिसको उसके गुरु और भगवान दोनों ग्लोरीफाई कर रहे हैं. And what did he do actually? If you think about it, all he did was follow the process. He was just sitting comfortably in his mother's womb and just listening to Hari Katha. That's all he did. And then he kept remembering his guru's instructions. He kept chanting the names. He would dance and he would preach in the school. Very nicely. He just, he did not go to the Mandara mountain like Hiranyakashipu. He did not stand on one foot and with his arms up in the air, body being eaten by ants and moths. He didn't have to do all those tapasya, all that austerities. He followed a very nice, very pleasing, very joyful process actually. And by following such a joyful process, he attained perfection. And this is the process that Prabhupada gave us. Exactly the same process that Prahlad Maharaj followed. That you do the Shravanam, just like Prahlad did, right? From a pure devotee, just like we are reading from Prabhupada, right? Kirtan, then you do you chant the names of the Lord, you glorify him, you preach, you sing the names, right? You do the Kirtan, then you do the Smaran, whatever you've heard and you have talked, then you remember it, right? Do the Smarnam. We talked about Smarnam in detail last time. Let me ask whoever was not there last time, let's see who can remember this. So for the 9 process, the Navda Bhakti, each process was perfected by one devotee, one Mahabhagavad devotee. For example, Shravanam was perfected by Parikshit Maharaj. Who is the best example of Kirtanam? That they followed just that one process diligently and they perfected their life. You don't have to follow all 9 processes. You just have to follow one process nicely and you can perfect your life. Who did the Kirtanam of Lord's name, fame, qualities and pastimes and attained perfection? Yes, Anita Mataji, please share.
Mataji, is it Haridas Thakur?
Mataji, this verse comes in Bhagavatam. So this is before, this is not from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. And this verse also comes that who's perfected their lives by following each of this process. So Shravanam Parikshit Maharaj, right? Kirtanam. किसने कीर्तन किया था जिसका परीक्षित महाराज ने सुना? परीक्षित महाराज ने किसको सुना था बैठ के? Somebody was glorifying the Lord. Who was talking to Parikshit Maharaj?
Sukadev Goswami, I think.
Shukdev Goswami, yes.
Okay.
Shukdev Goswami did the kirtan. So he's perfected his life by just hearing, by just glorifying, right? Parikshit Maharaj just by hearing has perfected his life. Shukdev Goswami just by kirtanam, just by glorifying the Lord, right? Kirtanam, Shravanam Kirtanam. Smarnam, who's perfected their life by the process of Smarnam. This everyone should know.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj. Yes, we talked about this last time, right? So Prahlad Maharaj has perfected his life just by Smarnam. So whatever he heard from his guru for thousands of years in the womb of his mother, he remembered it always. Smaranam, Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, Vismartavya Najatuchit. That there are only 2 rules. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. All other rules are inferior to these 2 rules. So he remembered that and he always remembered Krishna. So that's the process he followed, Smarnam. And we should know all these, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Pad Sevanam. Who does Pad Sevanam of the Lord and perfected their life by just serving the feet of the Lord?
Lakshmi Mata Mataji. Mata Lakshmi.
Yes. Lakshmi Devi, right? Okay. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smartanam, Pad Sevanam. Let's see, who else can we remember? So one day maybe we'll discuss this. We'll discuss each particular aspect of devotional service and how they perfected each. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, each has their example of a devotee that perfected their life. But for now, we'll just focus on Prahlad Maharaj. So this is what we were talking about, that Hiranyakashipu, he followed a very, very difficult process. He did all these austerities, and yet he was able to please a demigod, right? Not even Lord himself. He pleased only the demigod. And to what end? Just to please, just to gain power, just to please his own senses, just to become very, very, just to cater to his vengefulness. He wanted to get revenge over Vishnu, right? And he wanted to become the most powerful person in all the three lokas. So sirf power ke liye, fame ke liye, name ke liye, he did all this. So first of all, his motive is wrong, his intention is wrong. Secondly, his process is wrong of doing so much austerity. Such we have read in chapter 17 that we should not do so much austerity. Can everybody mute, please? Right, we should not follow such a hard process in which you're torturing your bodily elements so much. That's right? That kind of austerity is in mode of ignorance. Tamsik.
No, I'm in mute.
Tamsik tarah ki austerity hoti, right? We should not follow that, right? We talked about this in Bhagavad Gita. Whereas Prahlad followed a very transcendental process. All he's doing is he's chanting the names of the Lord, he's doing his kirtan, he's dancing in the school. Look at him dancing. He's dancing in the school, right? So this is the correct process to follow. And Prabhupada also was like this. He started from a very young age. He was always remembering Krishna, the teachings of his Guru Maharaj, applying those teachings, chanting, dancing on the names of Krishna. And that is all that one needs to perfect this life. That is our process. That is Krishna consciousness movement that we are following. It is not a very austere, hard process where you have to give up your family, your position, your title, your job, or money, or anything. All you have to do is to just hear. You just have to hear Krishna's instructions from Bhagavad Gita, and you have to hear devotees and Krishna's pastimes from Bhagavatam. All you have to do is to chant the names of Krishna, which is so purifying. Madhuram, madhurebhyopi, mangalebhyopi mangalam. So auspicious, so pavan, so nectarian. The Hari Katha and Harinam. That's all you have to do. And then you eat prasadam. We ate prasadam on Narsingh Chaturdashi. Who can say that prasadam was anything austere? It was like full of bhoga. It was bhoga. It was completely gratifying your senses and simultaneously gratifying Krishna's senses, because you first of all offer it to the Lord and then accept it yourself. So that is prasad. So is process mein there is nothing but joy, and that is what Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita, that this process is very joyful, right? Who can quote that verse where Krishna says that this process is very joyful? We don't have to go to do tapasyas like Hiranyakashipu. Which verse says that this process is very joyful and you can see the evidence, you can see the pratyaksh praman when you apply this process in your life? Today we don't have kids in the class, or are they not joining, or what?
Mataji is chapter 9. Can I recite?
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Rajvidya Rajguhyam Pavitram Idam Utmama Pratakshvagam Dharmayam Susukham Kartam Avayam.
Very bold. Very bold. Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderfully recited. So, susukham kartum avyayam, that you can, this process is very full of sukh, susukham kartum avyayam, and pratyaksh avagmyam dharmyam. You can see the pratyaksh praman of this dharma when you apply it. And you see in the pastime of Prahlad that if you apply this knowledge, then this knowledge will control even Krishna. He will be so pleased with you that even though you are not, that you're facing the topmost powerful person in this world, he will come himself to protect you, right? तो हिरण्यकशिपु ने इतनी तपस्या की और उसके लिए ब्रह्मा जी आए, जो कि who is himself a servant of the Lord, और you see the contrast between the process. That is what I'm trying to establish here. और प्रहलाद ने क्या किया, इतना अच्छा, इतना हैप्पी प्रोसेस फॉलो किया, इतना कंफर्टेबल प्रोसेस फॉलो किया. Look at him dancing and chanting, and for him Krishna, Lord himself, came assuming this most wonderful Narhari form, breaking the pillar, defying all the rules to just save Prahlad. So ऐसे बोलते हैं ना, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि खुदा खुद पूछे कि बंदे तेरी रजा क्या है. So that is how the process should be, where you become so pleasing. So, your personality becomes so pleasing. Your anarthas go away. Your desires get purified. Whereas what happened with Hiranyakashipu? He asked for wrong things. By asking for wrong things, his desires actually became more contaminated. Now he wanted to torture and torment people. Now he wanted to pollute the yajna ceremonies going on. Now he wanted to control the demigods. So his desires became contaminated. His anarthas became amplified actually by getting this power. His anger became more. His greed, his lust, his illusion, his bodily conception of life became even stronger. So austerity should be done for purification, not to get closer to the Lord, not to go away from the Lord. तो हम आप कोई भी ऐसा process कर रहे हो जिसमें you are going away from the Lord, then that is not the right process. If there is any ritual, any ceremony, anything that is taking you away from the Lord, that is stopping you from getting closer to the Lord, that is not the right process. So process का proof क्या है कि वो process काम करता है, that it takes you towards the Lord. It increases your hankering to know about the Lord. It increases your hankering to do services for the Lord. It decreases your anartha, your anger, your greed, your lust, your bodily conception, your ego starts fading away. Then you know that the process is working. Otherwise, either you're not applying the process properly or you're following the wrong process. So in Hiranyakashipu case, he did follow the wrong process. So this is what we have to understand. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is, what should we ask from Krishna? We should not ask for Krishna for anything material. Why? Because we are very much in the bodily conception of life. We are driven by anarthas. We are driven by our desires, right? We are always trying to cheat the Lord. जब हम demon की बात करें तो apply it on yourself, because we all have demonic propensities. So when we reading this pastime, don't think I'm Prahlad. Think I'm Hiranyakashipu. That is the right mood to read this pastime, so that we can curb those Hiranyakashipu-like mentalities. So always know कि जब मैं कुछ मांगता हूँ भगवान से, I'm asking it to fulfill my anarthas actually. I'm asking it to increase my false ego. I'm asking it to fulfill my greed, my lust, my illusion. Why? Because I don't know what is good for me. My desires are polluted. And if I ask for those things, they'll entangle me more. तो हमने एक saying भी बोली थी last time कि more tears are shed from the prayers that were answered than from the prayers that were not answered. So actually it is better that if some of your prayers go unanswered, because you will probably be purified in the process. Whereas if all of your prayers are answered, we don't know what to ask for, and those prayers get answered, they will bind us more. जैसे कि इसमें हिरण्यकश्यप ने गलत चीजें मांगी कि मुझे मुझे मरना नहीं है, right? But what did that do? That made him more powerful, that made him more power hungry, that made him hungry for name and fame and wealth and controlling other people. And so it's like a child. A child does not know what is good for him. So he is going to cross the road without holding the hand of his parent. And what will it do? Agar wo sadak pe aise bhagega, right? So he will the car will hit him, right? So we have to tell the child how to behave. And if child doesn't follow your rules, if these demonic people don't follow the rules of the Lord, then they get into trouble. So this is another point to understand, that we are always, we have a cheating propensity. We are always trying to cheat the Lord. जैसे एक कहानी आती है, इसमें क्या होता है कि एक व्यक्ति, this person goes to the top of the mountain, and calls out the names of the Lord, and Lord appears and he says, "Oh, my dear child, what do you want? Why were you calling for me?" So the person says, "Lord, I have two questions for you. Can you answer?" So Lord says, okay, yeah, what questions you have? He says, tell me, Lord, um, how much is my 1,000 years for you? My 1,000 years is equal to how much of your time? So Lord says, your thousands of years is equal to like my moment, one moment. Okay, it is very quick for me. Your thousands of years is equal to my one moment. So then he says, okay, now tell me, how much is my thousands of dollars for you? My thousands of dollars. So Lord says, your $1,000 is like just maybe a couple of cents for me, just a few cents for me, not much. Said, okay, okay, Lord. So then, now remember, this is an ordinary jiva like us with cheating propensity, trying to cheat the Lord. So he says, okay, Lord, then can you give me a few cents? And so guess what Lord said? He said, yes, my dear child, just give me one moment. Did you understand that? Kyuki, Lord's one moment is equal to thousands of his years, right? So you think you can cheat the Lord by asking for these type of boons, कि मुझे immortal कर दो या सब लोग मेरे control में हो जाएं, या आपको लग रहा है कि आपके दिल में इतने अनर्था हैं लेकिन मैं उसको कुछ भी बोल के भगवान को cheat करके मांगूंगा तो that will work. No, that won't work because you cannot cheat the Lord. Right? Krishna is the biggest cheat. He says that in Bhagavad Gita also. Dyutam chalai tamasmi. कि जो gamblers हैं उनकी gambling propensity या cheating मैं हूँ, cheating power मैं हूँ. तो वैसे भी we know he's the biggest thief, so you cannot steal anything from him. That beautiful song of Charashtakam says that, right? He steals everything. व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकुलचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जिता पापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि. So he's चौराग्रगण्यम, he is the topmost चोर कि जो ब्रज के सारे ब्रजे प्रसिद्धम नवनीत चौरम, he is the famous, most famous चोर of the ब्रज. गोपांगनानम, जो गोपियों के हार्ट को चुरा लेते हैं, अनेक जन्मों के पाप को चुरा लेते हैं. And he's the topmost चोर, चौराग्र गण्यम. To that Purush I bow down, to that Purush I pay my obeisances. So to that Purush you cannot fool, you cannot cheat. So these demonic people are always trying to cheat the Lord, but it doesn't work. That's another thing to remember, what to ask for from the Lord. We should share our weaknesses with the Lord, our limitations with the Lord. We should not try to cheat the Lord. क्योंकि भगवान जो है वो पतित पावन है, वो चीटिंग लोगों को नहीं का उद्धार नहीं कर सकते. वो चीटर पावन नहीं है. पतित मतलब फॉलन लोगों का उद्धार कर सकते हैं. अगर आप में कोई वीकनेसेस इज नॉर्मल, वीकनेस होना, fall downs होना, limitations होना, that is normal, that is expected, that is the nature of a jiva. But cheating karna bhagwan ke sath, that is not something that anybody can uplift you from. So if you are very clear with your seniors, with your guru, with the Lord, these are my weaknesses, I'm not able to do this right now. For example, I'll give you an example. Somebody says, just to get, just to um, um, pat their backs, just to अपने अपने आप को बड़ा दिखाने के लिए, अपने आप को बहुत spiritual दिखाने के लिए, जैसे कि बोलना कि मैं 16 माला करता हूँ, लेकिन actually नहीं कर रहे 16 माला, actually मान लो 4 माला कर रहे, right? But you're saying that to the Lord, to the devotees, to the seniors, to the guru, right? Now that is cheating. Now on the other hand, if you say कि oh Guru Maharaj, I'm not able to do this, but I would like to one day come to the platform where I can chant the names of the Lord purely with this mood and these many number, then please, please bless me that I can do this. This is expressing your weakness, your limitation. This somebody can uplift you from. But if you're cheating, that Krishna will catch that cheating in your heart. So we don't need to cheat anybody. We should be very simple. You should not be duplicitous like that. This I think we already covered. What is the difference between tapasya and tapodivyam? What Prahlad did, look at him happily dancing, is called tapodivyam. I'll go forward. Okay, the last point, I think this is the last point here. Yeah. This point Prahlad Maharaj makes many times in 7th canto. He says that we should not hanker for happiness. Just like distress comes in this world of its own accord. हर कोई मानता है कि दुख अपने आप आता है, हम नहीं बुलाते. Who says कि दुख को हम बुलाते हैं? Does anybody pray for dukha? Does anybody say, give me dukha? No. It comes of its own accord, right? अपने आप आता है. So can happiness also come of its own accord like that? या नहीं? अगर दुख अपने आप आ सकता है, तो क्या happiness अपने आप नहीं आ सकती? So Prahlad Maharaj makes that point many times, that in this material world, every materialistic person is trying to achieve happiness and diminish their distress. And actually, in this process of trying to become happy, they are becoming very much entangled. They are creating a lot of troubles for themselves. But in this world, we have to understand that the happiness and distress will automatically be obtained without endeavor. Just as we obtain distress, the happiness can also be automatically obtained. So devotees don't ask the Lord or don't try too hard for happiness. They just depend on the Lord for their maintenance. बहुत ज़्यादा प्रयास नहीं करना चाहिए कि मैं सारा टाइम खुश रहूं, because then when the problem comes, those people are not able to cope because there was so much high on the happiness that when the low of distress comes, it becomes very difficult to tolerate. And those are the people that give up their life and all when the distress comes. So this in this way, we should know this principle, matra sparshas tu kaunteya, right? We should just tolerate both happiness and distress. Krishna says in chapter 2, verse 14, we should just tolerate happiness and distress like the seasons come and go. Seasons भी अपने आप ही आते हैं, सूरज भी अपने आप ही उगता है और हटता है. कोई ये बैठ के बोलता नहीं है कि ओ दिन आ जाए, इतने घंटे बाद दिन आएगा ही आएगा. You don't have to pray for दिन to come. Nobody says, right? You sit in the evening and say, please the Lord, अभी दिन आ जाए. जब दिन आएगा वो तभी आएगा. वो 6 घंटे बाद आना है तो तभी सूरज उगेगा. ऐसे ही हैप्पीनेस भी जब आनी है वो तभी आएगी. उसके पीछे बहुत ज्यादा भागने से वो नहीं आएगी. In fact, in that process, you're creating a lot of troubles for yourself when you keep running after happiness. So that is the point. To understand, very important process. इसलिए बोलते हैं कि किसी को भी समय से ज्यादा वक्त या समय से पहले और किस्मत से ज्यादा कुछ नहीं मिलता, right? So if you thinking कि मुझे उससे पहले कुछ मिल जाएगा या उससे ज्यादा कुछ मिल जाएगा, तो वो नहीं मिलता. इसलिए we should just depend on the Lord completely, and when the happiness comes, chant Hare Krishna. When the distress comes, chant Hare Krishna. So people are very equipoised. There are devotees, they are very equipoised in both happiness and distress. So this is the point to understand. And so do not waste time seeking it. And this is the aspect of the Lord's that I mentioned here on the screen, that why should we depend on the Lord completely? Because Lord is giving you everything that he thinks is best for you. He is not giving you according to what you want. He is giving you according to what you need, right? कि आपको चाहिए कि मुझे अभी इतने $1,000 मिल जाएं, let's say. But Lord knows कि if he gives you this much money right now, your mind will get corrupted, or you will spend it, or somehow he knows that it will get taken away from you. So he's not giving it to you right now, right? So don't run for it. Don't work too hard for that. It's okay. If Lord has to give it to you, he will give it to you in due time. So remember that Lord never makes mistakes. So if he's not giving you something right now, it is not his mistake, because he is not error prone. To err is human. That is not the quality of God. To err is human, is the quality of humans. Cheating propensity, erroneous propensity is the quality of humans, not the Lord. He never makes mistakes. उनके खाते में कोई कमी नहीं आती. तो उन्होंने अगर आपको अभी इतना दिया है, तो इतना ही दिया है अभी. You did not deserve more. You did not need to have anything more than that right now. So remember this. जब भी कोई ऐसा हो कि भगवान मेरी इच्छा पूरी क्यों नहीं कर रहे, so remember कि 1, he never makes mistakes. 2, he knows your past, present and future, right? आपको तो अपना future नहीं पता कि क्या होगा, कैसे that thing will destroy you, or that thing may lead you in the wrong direction. That is why he may not be giving it to you. So he knows your past, present and future. He knows what is best for you. And 3, he is the true well-wisher. He is the true friend who is not in bodily conception. Other people can say, जैसे कि मैं बोल सकती हूँ कि मैं अनीता माता जी को बोल सकती हूँ कि I am your well-wisher, so whatever I am guiding you is correct. लेकिन I am in bodily conception, right? So I don't know actually what is best for her, because I can only see, I have only very limited understanding of her or her condition or her past, present, right? Forget about future. But Lord is not in bodily conception. So when he is guiding us, when he is giving us something, he is on a transcendental platform. He is not operating on the level of false ego. हो सकता है मैं कोई एडवाइस दूं, वो मेरी false ego या मेरी greed या मेरी किसी ulterior motive को fulfill करती हो. But Lord has no ulterior motive. Lord is completely our well-wisher. Our parents can say we are our child's well-wisher, but even they don't know what is that their child's future. So हो सकता है आप अपने बच्चे को फोर्स करो कुछ करने को, राइट, कि ये करो वो करो, लेकिन maybe Lord had different plan for him, because he knows his past, present and future. He knows what is coming for him in the future. So we may think we are his best well-wisher, but actually Lord has different plans, so we should surrender to the plans of the Lord. एक हमने पिछली बार टाइटैनिक की कहानी ली थी. If you remember, some of you were attending, you heard the tale of Titanic last time, कि कैसे it was an unsinkable ocean liner, but ended up the biggest marine disaster of all times, right? More than 1,500 or 1,800 people perished in that disaster in peacetime, not even in war. In peace, the biggest marine disaster of peacetime. Our first voyage, it sank. On the first maiden voyage, it sank. Now there were many people, abhi मैं different point, I'm making a different point than I made in last class. Many people were not able to get on the ship, even many wealthy people. Okay, क्योंकि जैसे कि जगह नहीं थी, for many reasons, many people were not able to get on, and they were very upset. We were not able to get on this ship. Now tell me, did it work out or not? उस टाइम तो उन्होंने बहुत कोसा होगा भगवान को कि oh, we were not able to get on Titanic, this luxury ship, and we could have been part of the history, we could have gone down in the history, our name, that we were on this ship and we made the voyage from Southampton to New York. Imagine, huh? Lekin some people were not able to get on that ship. Did it work out or no? Did Lord look out for them? Was it their time to go? It was not their time to go. So Lord did not let them get on the ship by some arrangement. So उस टाइम में तो हमारा बहुत शॉर्ट टर्म विजन है, हमारा लॉन्ग टर्म विजन नहीं है. सो वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज गुड फॉर अस, व्हाट इज नॉट. वी मेक मिस्टेक्स. वी आर लाइक दैट चाइल्ड हु थिंक्स कि आग में हाथ डालना चाहिए क्योंकि आग बहुत सुंदर दिख रही है, उसमें से इतनी अच्छी अच्छी वार्मथ आ रही है, वो इतनी कितने अच्छे अच्छे कलर्स हैं उसमें, कितनी अच्छी अच्छी क्रैकलिंग साउंड आ रही है, इट लुक्स वेरी इनवाइटिंग, आई शुड पुट माई हैंड इन इट. लेकिन क्या होगा, हाथ जल जाएगा. तो भगवान ऐसे जोर से हाथ मारेंगे आपके हाथ पे, नहीं हाथ डालो इसके अंदर, तो आप रोने लगोगे कि मुझे भगवान ने, मुझे माँ ने मारा. लेकिन क्यों मारा, क्यों मारा उसने? क्योंकि ताकि आप अपने को और नुकसान नहीं करो. तो अभी हिरण्यकश्यपु को क्यों मारा भगवान ने? क्योंकि he was doing so much sin, so much crime. He did not need to get any more sinful reactions. So annihilated him at that time, right? So sometimes these so Lord does something to cut out, to take these anarthas out of us, take these, purify us, to take these impure desires out of us, and this is for our well-being only. Next point we understand is that Prahlad Maharaj, because he was always in shelter of the Lord, he was completely fearless. Whereas if you are in the shelter of Maya, it is a very fearful condition. So those devotees that are in the shelter of the Lord are completely fearless. इसलिए हम बोलते हैं भजहु रे मन श्रीनंदनंदन भय चरण रविंद रे. तो अगर आप भगवान के चरणों का, अभय चरण रविंदर है, जिसने भगवान के चरण का आश्रय लिया है, he will become completely fearless, he will become completely, उसको अभय दान मिलेगा. लेकिन अगर आप माया की गोद में सोए हो, if you're sleeping, भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर बोलते हैं, I think it's भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर, who says कि कोटा निद्रा जाओ माया पिशाची रलो हो, पिशाची रखोले, कि उठो जीव जीव जागो, जीव जागो, गौर चंद्र बोले, कि ओ गौर ओ जीव, वेक अप. कब तक माया के लैप में सोओगे? हाउ लॉन्ग विल यू स्लीप इन द लैप ऑफ दिस विच कॉल्ड माया? माया पिशाची रखोले, कि इस पिशाचिनी माया की लाप में कब तक सोओगे? Get up, you're generating so many karmas. Get up and take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, and you will become completely fearless. Otherwise, in this world, we are so fearful, so anxious, so much going on the news, so many ways to scare us. But actually, we should take shelter of Hari Katha, Hari Nam if you want to become fearless. And then this point, Prahlad Maharaj, was Krishna confident? He knew because he was completely fearless. He was completely surrendered to the Lord. He knew that Krishna will come and save him, and so he was Krishna confident. He could see Lord's presence everywhere. Krishna says also in Bhagavad Gita, "Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasya ham na pranashyami sa cha me na pranashyati." कि जो मुझे सब जगह देखता है मैं भी उसको सब जगह देखता हूँ, और जो मुझे सब जगह देखता है वो उसका कभी ही इज नेवर लॉस्ट टू मी एंड आई एम नेवर लॉस्ट टू हिम, तो मैं भी उसको हमेशा देखते रहूंगा, मैं भी उसको, ही इज नेवर लॉस्ट टू मी. दिस इज अ वेरी बिग प्रॉमिस कृष्णा हैज मेड, that this person is never lost to me and I am never lost to that person. Now let me ask you something. Let's pause for a couple seconds. At 10 o'clock I want to read this 6th chapter, so just a couple seconds I'll pause and ask people. हिरण्यकशिपु ने प्रहलाद महाराज से पूछा कि तुम बोलते हो कि एक सुप्रीम बीइंग है that you can see everywhere, who's a supreme controller, who's more powerful than me even. कहाँ है वो supreme power? क्या वो इस पिलर में है? Now somebody can ask you, this is a very valid question. Somebody can ask you, let's say an atheist person, not maybe not nobody in this call, but somebody can ask you, it seems to be a very valid question कि भगवान नहीं दिखाई दे रहे, मुझे तो नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है इसमें, इधर दीवार में या कहीं पे. तो अगर उसने ऐसा पूछ लिया तो उसमें क्या गलत बात है कि वो हमको नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है? So then I ask you something. Do we care about seeing the Lord so much, or do we care about being seen by the Lord?
Seen by the Lord Mataji.
Yes, because yes, okay, we are not Prahlad Maharaj. We are very impure. We have many anarthas. We have many desires. So we are able to see Krishna, but let's say through Hari Katha, we are able to relish Krishna through his name. We can see Krishna through the deities. We can see Krishna through our Guru. We can see Krishna through the Prasad. Yes, there are many, many ways. We can see Krishna through the temple, through the Dham, through Govardhan, through Tulsi Maharani. Yes, we can see Krishna through many of those things. But sitting in a very materialistic environment, no Bhagavad Gita, no Harinam around me, let's say, maybe I'm not able to see Krishna because maybe I'm not that pure. But what is important for a devotee's mood is not that I want to see Krishna with my eyes. That is not the mood of a devotee. Devotee wants to be seen by Krishna, right? Devotee wants to be seen by Krishna. Prabhupada ने भी राधा रानी को क्या बोला था कि ओ राधा रानी, please tell your Krishna something about me, right? Because otherwise he doesn't know about me. But please tell something, your Krishna something about me, so he may know about me. That's what we want. We want Krishna to know something about us. So what do? You do your services very diligently. You chant your name very diligently, right? You listen to Hari Katha, because maybe Krishna will come and see, oh, who's listening? Who's actually really listening and understanding? Who's reading Bhagavad Gita every day? Oh, this Mataji reads my instructions, one verse every day. Oh, Hari Bol, this Mataji is chanting every day 4 rounds of my Harinam. So maybe Krishna will see us. Maybe Krishna will notice that I'm here. I am struggling. Here I'm trying to fast for Ekadashi. I'm feeling hungry, but I'm struggling, right? Maybe Krishna will notice me. So why are we doing all this? Why are we doing all this? We're doing all this. Maybe Krishna will notice us, right? Maybe Radharani will notice us. So it is not that we are interested in perceiving Krishna with our senses. And we already made this point कि हमारी senses इतनी erroneous हैं कि हम या इस दुनिया की चीजें भी नहीं देख सकते. So कृष्णा को तो क्या देखेंगे? But at least we can do services. Again वही बात की become so big. खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना, right? कि be so big that Krishna will come down actually to save you like he did for Prahlad Maharaj. So devotee is not so much concerned in the matter of seeing the Lord. He's more concerned with pleasing and being seen by the Lord. So I just wanted to make that point. Namita Mataji, are you seeing the slideshow? Is it on the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Okay, this is so this is the last, I think we did this. So finally, when he did get his powers, he became more angry. Hiranyakashipu, he was tormenting others, whereas Prahlad, even though there were so many provocations against him, he was still tolerating. He was still compassionate, right? He could understand that my father is doing all this because he's so materially attached. So he was tolerating everything. Whereas Hiranyakashipu became so big and still tormenting other people. So this point, and then this is another contrast between the two, that Prahlad Maharaj was fearless, whereas Hiranyakashipu was always insecure, anxious, threatened, fearful. Prahlad, so these are the points we covered today in today's session so far. Prahlad followed a very joyful process of Tapodivyam, enjoying and hearing the, and chanting, remembering, dancing, sharing, just like we are doing, whereas Hiranyakashipu did intense austerity, and with that he could only please a demigod, a devta, and who gave him the boons very reluctantly. ब्रह्मा जी ने उसको तब भी बूंद दिए कि इसको देने पड़ेंगे बूंद, क्योंकि इसने एक प्रोसेस फॉलो किया है तो देने पड़ेंगे. और प्रहलाद ने अपने इतने प्लीजिंग प्रोसेस से भगवान को प्लीज किया, एंड लॉर्ड हिमसेल्फ केम. बुलाया भी नहीं प्रहलाद ने कि आओ मुझे बचाने, अपने आप ही की केम. And then he asked for such nice things. We already know what things he asked. And look at what Hiranyakashipu asked for, material benefits. And then Prahlad, what did he want? He just still wanted to displease the Lord, looking for the welfare of people, wanted to serve his guru. Whereas Hiranyakashipu just wanted power over other people. So this finishes our PowerPoint. This was, if you want to take a picture of this slide, this is the points that we covered in today's class. I'll stop here. If you are okay, can we read some verses? We'll just read the translation. There are only 30 verses. We'll read maybe 3 each. Every person can read. We have 15 people in the class. We can each read a few verses from 6th chapter. Is that okay?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so I'll share the Veda base, and if you have your 7th canto, you can open. Anybody, while I'm opening, anybody has any questions? Let's see, new people especially. Vinay Prabhu, you asked such nice questions last time and shared realizations. Would you like to share? And Devika Mataji, anybody, Rekha Mataji, please. Please go ahead and share. If you want, I can pick someone. Oh, Devika Mataji is sharing. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
No, I'm okay at this point. I'm following you.
अच्छा, okay. So Mataji, सब समझ आ गया या कुछ समझ नहीं आया?
सब समझ आया.
Okay, very good. Very good. That's great. Okay. You want to share any realizations? Ki kuch, you want to start doing something? You feel like you want to start chanting Harinam every day, 11 times or something? A few names every day? Who feels inspired?
I'm not counting, but just making the daily habit of it, like specific time, and then I'm continuing that practice every day.
Okay. What are you chanting,
At
Mataji?
least,
What do you chant?
sorry.
What mantra are you chanting?
Actually, I chant every day Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay.
I used to chant that, so I'm chanting that only.
Okay.
But at least I'm started doing something. Before
Yes,
that, I wasn't doing anything, and now.
Yes, very nice. Yes, Mataji, other than Om Namah Shivaya, if everybody here can start also, just do a few times, you can just do 11 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the prescribed mantra for this Kali Yuga. This is the mantra you can chant actually even without having taken a bath, or if you are driving your car, whether it is day or night, it doesn't matter. That is why this mantra is given to the people of Kali Yuga, because we are not very pure. Typically, the mantras that begin with Om needs a lot of purity to chant, whereas we are eating all kind of things, consuming all kind of substances, and our tongue is very impure, our bodily habits are very impure. So that is why it is recommended to chant the Lord's name directly, which are infused with the power of Om and much more. So consider including just maybe 11 times, like count on your finger. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. Like that you can do. And that is very, very purifying. It will increase the attachment for Hari Katha, Hari Nam, for reading and hearing Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Katha, Hari Katha. So, but yes, Mataji, thank you for starting the process. You're very
Yeah, sure. I'll try this also.
Yes, Mataji, thank you. Okay, let's read these translations. So can you see my screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, this chapter is very, very popular. It is very widely quoted by Prabhupada. There are 3 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, that are most quoted by Prabhupada. The one chapter is first canto ka chapter 2, okay, 1.2. Fifth canto का fifth chapter. Fifth canto का fifth chapter है जिसमें ऋषभ देव की teachings आती हैं. Okay, that is very widely quoted by Prabhupada. And this chapter, sixth chapter, is of seventh canto, also very widely quoted. So these 3 are very, very important chapters. The teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada has instructed us to just imbibe them and understand them. That's why I wanted to cover this today. So there are 30 verses. Maybe we can read 2 verses each person. Actually, there are less people now. Some people have quit. So whoever, I have some points written. So let's start with first 2 verses. Go ahead, Avni, please read the first 2 verses.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, the chapter is Prahlad instructs his demonic schoolmates. Yes.
Text 1. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements, the human body is most rarely achieved. And although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Text 2. The human form of life affords one a chance to return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity, especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul, and the well-wisher of all other living beings. Haribol.
Haribol. So these 2 words, I have 7 points to make in these verses. The first point is, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that human life is very rarely achieved, so we should not waste any time in human life. Let me ask you here, who all has been to an escape room? किसी ने escape room वाली वो game खेली है? जिसमें आप जाते हो, आपको एक task accomplish करना होता है in a time, and then you go to the next room, right? खेलिए ना, whether he is saying thumbs up. So आपको भी escape room खेल के देखना. Escape room is a real life game जिसमें आप उस room में जाते हो, you have to solve a mystery and then only you can escape that room. ठीक है? Then you get, otherwise the time runs out. So this is like that situation. We have very limited time in human life, right? And we have to accomplish a specific task that is assigned. और वो task है devotional service का. Prahlad Maharaj is very clearly saying that in this life we should engage in the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. हम नहीं बोल रहे ये. Look, especially in the human form of life, one must engage in the devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. तो हमें ये काम दिया गया है इस लाइफ में, और वो टाइम ऐसे आवर ग्लास लगी हुई है, टाइम सैंड ऑफ टाइम इज रनिंग, टाइम जाते जा रहा है और आप वो काम कर ही नहीं रहे जो काम आपको दिया है करने को. टाइम खत्म हो जाएगा एंड यू विल बी किक्ड आउट ऑफ दिस बॉडी. तो क्या यू विल फेल दिस एस्केप रूम वाली गेम. ये गेम आप क्या होगा, फेल हो जाएगी. So think about it like this. Whenever you think कि there is no urgency, बाद में करेंगे, बुढ़ापे में करेंगे, 10 साल बाद करेंगे, 5 साल बाद करेंगे. Think about it that the time जो आवर क्लास होता है उसकी सैंड ऊपर से नीचे जा रही है और हर एक सैंड पार्टिकल के साथ आपका टाइम जाते जा रहा है. अगर वो खत्म हो गया तो सारा आवर क्लास खाली हो जाएगा and that's it. You have lost the game. So think of it, this is a game and you're going to lose the game. हम कितने कॉम्पिटिटिव होते हैं जब हम ये escape room वाली गेम्स खेलते हैं, कोई गेम खेलते हैं, उसमें टाइमली फैशन में आंसर करना होता है. कहूट का क्वेश्चन होता है, 30 सेकेंड्स में लोग आंसर करते हैं या नहीं करते. इसमें आपको इतना टाइम मिला है. हाउ आर वी लूजिंग दिस टाइम? हाउ आर वी एबल टू जस्ट सिट अराउंड एंड नॉट डू एनीथिंग? उस 30 सेकंड्स में आपको वो क्वेश्चन आंसर करना होता है एंड यू आर ट्राइंग योर वेरी बेस्ट टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन और नो. You're playing that game to the very best of your ability or no? In this life, you were given this game to play. You had to do the devotional service. This was your only goal in this life. This is the task assigned to you, right? This is the goal of human life. This cannot be accomplished in any other life. In demigod में, animal species में, किसी भी गंधर्व, किन्नर, किसी भी species में एक काम नहीं हो सकता. वो काम आपको करने को दिया गया था, आप उसको छोड़ के बैठे हुए हो खाली. How is that right? So just to tell you the importance of time and devotional service in this life. Okay, let's read next 3 together. Who can read these 3? Yes, Anita. Yes, Namita Mataji. Anita Mataji, you read next. I'm sorry.
Can I read, Mataji? I just will go on
Sure.
audio after this.
Sure, yes, Mataji.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Text 3. Prahlad Maharaj continued, "My dear friends, born of demoniac families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life according to one's past fruitive activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress." Text 4. Endeavors merely for sense gratification or material happiness through economic development are not to be performed, for they result only in a loss of time and energy with no actual profit. If one's endeavors are directed toward Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. Text 5. Therefore, while in material existence, a person fully competent to distinguish wrong from right must endeavor to achieve the highest goal of life as long as the body is stout and strong and is not embarrassed by dwindling. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Bol. So ये प्रहलाद महाराज is directly speaking to his schoolmates, his demonic schoolmates. ठीक है ना, बाकी demons के बच्चों को सिखा रहे हैं. तो ये बात हमने कर ली कि automatically obtain होती है without endeavor. We should not try too hard for happiness, for all these other things. This is just a loss of time and energy, no actual profit. So happiness will come according to your actions of the past, your reactions you will get ultimately, right? So person जो पूरा competent है, they should use this body when it is stout and strong. Not when it is dwindling. He's saying when it is embarrassed by dwindling, that is not when you take to this process. You do it when it is stout and strong. और दूसरी इसमें एक पॉइंट मुझे ये बताना था कि टेल मी समथिंग. एक बस में आप बैठे हो, द बस इज गोइंग टू अ डेस्टिनेशन, राइट? नाउ यू वांट टू गेट टू दैट डेस्टिनेशन वेरी फास्ट. अभी आपको पहुंचना है, तो आप क्या करते हो? आप उस बस में भागने लगते हो, बहुत तेजी से आप उस बस में भाग रहे हो. Tell me something, will you reach that destination according to the speed of the bus or according to your speed?
Speed of bus, Mataji.
Our speed.
बस की स्पीड से, राइट? बस में खड़े हो, बस में आप बैठे हो, तो बस में भागने का क्या फायदा? जितने समय पे बस ने वहां पे पहुंचाना है वो उतने समय पे ही पहुंचाएगी. अब आप क्या कर रहे हो? बस में भाग रहे हो, तो यू आर वेस्टिंग योर टाइम एंड एनर्जी. आप उस टाइम में बैठ के कुछ कर सकते थे, लेकिन अब आपको जल्दी पड़ी है पहुंचने की, लेकिन भागोगे, तेजी से भागोगे बस में, तो क्या आप जल्दी पहुंच जाओगे? नहीं पहुंच सकते. इसी तरीके से हैप्पीनेस जो आनी है वो उसी टाइम पे ही आनी है, वो बस की स्पीड पे ही पहुंचे मिलेगी. वो वहां पे खड़े होकर भागने से आपका सिर्फ टाइम और एनर्जी वेस्ट हो रहा है. यू आर वेस्टिंग दिस ह्यूमन फॉर्म ऑफ लाइफ, जो आप वहां बैठ के आप कुछ कर सकते थे. आप अपने को पैसेंजर से बात, यू कुड हैव रेलिश्ड दैट जर्नी. रादर आप उसमें तेजी से भाग रहे हो. हम लोग यही कर रहे हैं, हम लोग तेजी से भाग रहे हैं, पता नहीं कभी किसी चीज के पीछे, कभी किसी चीज के पीछे, trying to achieve something that is not will not be given to us regardless of that intense endeavor. तो इसीलिए इसको भागवतम में बोलते हैं श्रम एव ही केवलम, कि इसको फालतू का श्रम है, फालतू का व्यर्थ श्रम है, वो करने की जरूरत नहीं है. It is waste of time and energy. Prahlad is saying here, loss of time and energy, no actual profit. तो कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ इतना भागने का उसका. Okay, let's read next 3 Mataji. Namita Mataji, please.
Yes, Hari Bol. Test 6. Every human being has a maximum duration of life of 100 years. But for one who cannot control his senses, half of those years are completely lost because at night he sleeps 12 hours being covered by ignorance.
Please
Therefore, such
listen
a
to this. Please, everybody listen to this very, very carefully. Prahlad Maharaj is breaking down our lifetime. Yes, Mataji, please say.
half of those years are completely lost because at night he sleeps 12 hours being covered by ignorance. Therefore, such a person has a lifetime of only 50 years. Hari Bol.
आगे पढ़ते रहे Mataji. दो और.
In the tender age of childhood, when everyone is bewildered, one passes 10 years. Similarly, in boyhood, engaged in sporting and playing, one passes another 10 years. In this way, 20 years are wasted. Similarly, in old age, when one is invalid, unable to perform even material activities, one passes another 20 years wastefully. Hari Bol. Text 8. One who minds and senses are uncontrolled because becomes increasingly attached to family life because of insatiable lusty desires and very strong delusion. In such a madman's life, the remaining years are also wasted because even during those years he cannot engage himself in the devotional service. Hari Bol.
जी बोल. So प्रहलाद महाराज ने पूरा ब्रेक डाउन दिया कि एक एवरेज ह्यूमन की लाइफ 100 साल होती है, उसमें से रह गई 50 साल क्योंकि सोने में, खाने में, दूसरी एक्टिविटीज में गए. ठीक है, 50 साल में से 10 साल चले गए चाइल्डहुड में, बाकी के 10 साल चले गए जो आपकी यंग एज होती है जिसमें आप इधर उधर घूम फिर रहे थे, तो इसे 20 इयर्स चले गए. ठीक है, फिर आप ओल्ड एज में इनवैलिड हो गए, तो इस तरीके से आपके 20 इयर्स वो भी चले गए. तो आपके पास कितने में भी 10 साल बचे, उसमें भी आपने बहुत ज्यादा इंटेंस आपने काम परिश्रम किया, बहुत ज्यादा मुझे बॉस का भी बॉस बनना है, वांट टू बिकम द बॉस ऑफ माय बॉस एवरी 2 years, सम पीपल से दिस, राइट. सो क्या हुआ उसका, इतने ज्यादा इंटेंगल हो गए कि इवन जब ओल्ड एज भी आई तो इतने ज्यादा अटैच थे फैमिली लाइफ से कि द रिमेनिंग years are also lost because now that person cannot take to devotional service. तो एक बहुत अच्छा वर्ड्स आती है जो श्रीपाद शंकराचार्य ने बोली है. he says अंगम गलितम पलितम मुंडम दशम विहीनम जातम तुंडम वृद्धो याति गृहित्रा दंडम तदपि न मुंचति आशा पिंडम. कि अंग गल गए, पलितम मुंडम हेड बॉल्ड हो गया, दशम विहीनम जातम तुंडम माउथ में से दांत चले गए, वृद्ध हो गए, तदपि नाम और शैया पे पड़े हैं, तदपि ना मुंचती आशा पिंडम, लेकिन तब भी इस बॉडी की जो लस्टी डिजायर्स हैं दे आर नॉट गोइंग अवे. So this is just value of time again. Let's read next 4, actually all these 3. Yes, Hema Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna. Able to see what person to attach to household life due to being unable to control his senses can liberate himself. An attached householder is bound very strongly by ropes of affection for his family, wife, children, and other relatives. Money is so dear that one conceives of money as being sweeter than honey. Therefore, who can give up the desire to accumulate money, especially in household life? Thieves, professional servants, soldiers, and merchants try to acquire money even by risking their very dear lives. How can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with their picture, give up their association? Specifically, a wife, always very kind and sympathetic, and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such a dear, affectionate wife? Small children talk in broken language, very pleasing to hear, and their affectionate father always thinks of their sweet words. How could he give up their association? One's elderly parents, one's sons and daughters are also very dear. A daughter is Also, a daughter is especially dear to her father, and while living at her husband's house, she's is always in his mind. Who could give up that association? Aside from this, in household affairs, there are many decorated items of household furniture, and there are also animals and servants. Who could give up such comforts? The attached householder is like a silkworm, which weaves a cocoon in which it becomes imprisoned, unable to get out simply for the satisfaction of two important senses, the genitals and the tongue. One is bound by material conditions. How can one escape? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying money is sweeter than honey, right? Paisa, ऐसा होता है ना? ऐसा कैसा पैसा. So many songs are there about paisa. Sari khushi paisa, like that. So this is the problem. Money is sweeter than honey. And then he's giving an example of all the associations, attachments we have to the parents, to the comforts, even to the furniture, to everything. So he's just giving our condition. He's presenting our condition. How can one escape? It is very difficult to escape this. Okay, let's read next two. Who wants to read? Rekha Mataji, yes, please read.
We're doing text 15, right?
14 and 15, can you read?
14 and 15. Okay. One who is too attached cannot understand that he is wasting his valuable life for the maintenance of his family. He also fails to understand that purpose of human life, a life suitable for realization of the absolute truth, is being imperceptibly spoiled. However, he is very cleverly attentive to seeing that not a single farthing is lost by his mismanagement. Thus, although an attached person in material existence always suffers from threefold miseries, he does not develop distaste for the way of the material existence. Text 15. If a person too attached to the duties of family maintenance is unable to control his senses, the core of his heart is immersed in how to accumulate money. Although he knows that one who takes the wealth of others will be punished by the law of government and by the laws of Yamraja after death, he continues cheating others to acquire money. Haribol.
Haribol. Can someone read these two? I don't see any hands. Who wants to read? Prinka Mataji or mom?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I'll read text 16. Oh, my friends, sons of demons, in this material world, even those who are apparently advanced in education have the propensity to consider this is mine and this is for others. Thus, they are always engaged in providing the necessities of life to their families in a limited conception of family life, just like uneducated cats and dogs. They are unable to take to spiritual knowledge. Instead, they are bewildered and overcome by ignorance. Text 1780. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, it is certain that no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification, and their target is women. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to the conception of life are called demons. Therefore, Although you are sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the origin of all the demigods, because the ultimate goal for the devotees of Narayan is liberation from the bondage of material existence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Who wants to read next? So I think everything is self-explanatory. These are long translations. Who wants to read these?
Mataji, I'm driving, so I would not be able to read.
Sure. Okay. Okay, I can read again. My dear sons of demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan is the original super soul, the father of all living entities. Consequently, there are no impediments to pleasing him or worshipping him under any conditions, whether one be a child or an old man. The relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a fact, and therefore there is no difficulty in pleasing the Lord. So he's saying it's so easy to please the Lord because it is a very spontaneous relationship like a child and a parent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, who is infallible and indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living beings such as plants to Brahma to the foremost created living being. He is also present in variety of material creations and in the material elements, the total material energy and the three modes of material nature, as well as unmanifested material nature and false ego. Although he is one, he is present everywhere, and he is also the transcendental super soul, the cause of all causes, present as the observer in the course of heart of all living entities. He is indicated as that which is pervaded and all pervading super soul, but actually he cannot be indicated. He's changeless, undivided. He's simply perceived as the Supreme Satchidanand. Being covered by the curtain of external energy, he appears non-existent to the atheists. So he's basically glorifying the Lord, that how he's our best well-wisher. The relationship between the child and the parent, like that, is the relationship with us. He's present in everything, whether it's a plant or Brahmaji, a demigod, material nature, false ego. He's present in everything. And he's present inside us as the Paramatma or the super soul in the core of our heart. He's infallible, meaning he never makes mistakes. He is indefatigable. He can never be defeated. He's changeless, right? So, okay. Who wants to read next? Two? Let's see. Is Vaidehi around? Or Ravi Prabhu, who have not read? Okay, if not, Rekha Mataji, you want to read again?
Yes, Mataji. Okay, so I forgot the text number. 24?
Mataji, I can read Mataji.
Sure, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay, text 24. Therefore, my dear young friends, born of demons, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demonic nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. Text 25. Nothing is unobtainable for devotee who have satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes, the original source of everything. The Lord is the reservoir of unlimited spiritual quality. For devotees, therefore, who are transcendental to the modes of material nature, what is the use of following the principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, which are all automatically obtainable under the influence of the modes of nature? We devotees always glorify the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore we need not ask for anything in terms of dharma, kama, earth, and moksha. Text 26.
Divorce.
थोड़ा
You
सा
could read,
माता जी
yeah,
ऊपर कीजिए।
read this one also, probably.
Text 26, ओके हाँ, थोड़ा सा माता जी स्क्रॉल ऊपर कीजिए, मेरा फोन का स्क्रीन है। यस, वेरी गुड माता जी, थैंक यू। Okay, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. These are described in the Vedas as three varga or three ways to salvation. Within these three categories are education and self realization, ritualistic ceremonies performed according to Vedic injunction, logic, the science of law and order, and the various means of earning one's livelihood. These are the external subject matters of a study in the Vedas, and therefore I consider them material. However, I consider surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu to be transcendental.
Very bold. So Prahlad Maharaj is very boldly mentioned here that all this dharma, arth, kam, moksha, we don't ask anything like that from Lord. We only glorify the feet of the Lord, and all these things can be accomplished according to the influence of the modes of nature. So ये तो होता ही रहेगा. We don't work on this too hard. What do we work on? Because these are external, superficial subject matters. The four purusharthas, and we remember that Bhagavatam has nothing to do with the four purushartha. It only deals with the Bhagavad Dharma, the Pancham Purushartha of Bhakti Yoga. So the surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord is transcendental, whereas all these things are still material, and they're mentioned in Vedas. All this dharma, arth, kam, moksha is mentioned, but this is not what we cater to. This is not what we are concerned about so much. Okay, let's read last three. Who can read these?
I can read,
Yes, ma'am.
Mataji. Text
Hold on. I
27.
think Vedai wanted to read, Mataji. I'm sorry.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Yes, Vedai, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Text 27. Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, formally explained this transcendental knowledge to the great sage Narad. Such knowledge is extremely difficult to understand without the mercy of a saintly person like Narad, but everyone who has taken shelter of Narad's disciplic succession can understand this confidential knowledge. Text 28. Prahlad Maharaj continued, I received this knowledge from the great saint Narad Muni, who is always engaged in devotional service. This knowledge, which is called Bhagavad Dharma, is fully scientific. It is based on logic and philosophy and is free from all material contamination. Text 29 and 30. The sons of the demons replied, Dear Prahlad, neither you nor we know any teacher or spiritual master other than Shund and Amark, the sons of Shukracharya. After all, we are children and they are our controllers. For you especially, who always remain within the palace, it is very difficult to associate with a great personality. Dear friend, most gentle one, would you kindly explain how it was possible for you to hear Narad? Kindly dispel our doubts in this regard. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for reading, everyone. So Prahlad Maharaj very nicely saying this process is fully scientific. It is based on logic, philosophy. So any rational, intelligent, intellectual people will be satisfied by this Bhagavad Dharma. And I received this knowledge from the great Saint Narad Muni. So congratulations, everybody, for reading one full chapter from 7th canto. And this is one of the most important chapter of the whole Bhagavatam. So thank you to all of you. I was also able to revise this, but you can read it again and again and again and read each and every line. Everything is mentioned in this chapter. Everything that we understand is mentioned in this chapter. How we should satisfy the Supreme Lord, and by satisfying Him, everything is satisfied. How we are not hankering for mukti or liberation, right? We are hankering for pleasing the Lord, for shelter of the feet of the Lord, and how everything else is so superficial. Mahaprabhu says, "Eho bahya, aage kaho aur." ये सब तो बहुत superficial है, और बताओ. So like that, those things are very superficial. And this knowledge can only be given by mercy of a supreme devotee, a pure devotee like Narad Muni, as Prahlad says towards the end. And it is Vigyan, it is scientific knowledge. So with that, we'll stop. Thank you everyone for joining. Vancha kaltarubhyascha kripa sindhuvya evacha patita nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gurve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaya krishnaya krishna bhaktaya tad bhaktaya namo namah. Okay, Bhagwan Narsingh Dev ki jai. Bhakt Shiromani Prahlad Maharaj ki
Jai.
Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all
Hare
glories.
Krishna.
Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.